Okay, this is now being recorded. All right, so let's have our first speaker. Jack, you can, I'll time you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second. I'm looking at the timer. 3 minutes is all we have. Okay. All right. Good luck. All right, go.
Okay. Nuclear energy is a process that takes advantage of a thing known as nuclear fission, or splitting of the atom. This process is made possible by uranium, which is stored in metal rods and as fuel rods. These fuel rods generate an immense amount of heat, and it is cooled by water, which serves as a coolant and a moderator. This is a pretty basic explanation of what nuclear energy is. So, but I want to know what your opinion is on nuclear energy. And the reason I want to know this is because nuclear energy is very polarized. Many people are very for it or they're against it. But now, out of nuclear energy and solar and wind, what do you think is safer? I bet a lot of you probably thought that solar and wind are, but actually it's nuclear. And the reason for this is, although of course, if a disaster happens, nuclear can be deadly for the environment, but it does only take up a small amount of space. See, the problem with solar is that solar, while it's a good renewable, basically the amount of energy they get from the rooftops is enough. So they make these solar farms. This takes mass deforestation and destroys natural habitats for animals. Wind turbines, on the other hand, basically the farms for them are very dangerous to birds. More importantly, the big birds like the eagle and the hawk. See, probably a lot of you thought or surprised by this, and I understand. I was too. But did you also know that it is the best out of all the big energies? It has the best reliability and efficiency out of anything. It has a power capacity of 93%. What power capacity basically means is that is the amount of energy something basically creates and the amount of time that it's online. Mm. This is 3 to 4 times greater than solar and wind. Solar and wind only have a 25 and 34% respectively. And not only that, it is also a base load energy. This basically what this means is it's just it always produces energy. It doesn't need like an outside force like solar and wind do. And it also has no greenhouse gas effect. The steam that comes out of the coolant towers is just, well, as I said, steam. And because for coal and coal and fossil fuels, they have massive pollution problems with them, which is why we're trying to get rid of them. These are only, some of these reasons are why I believe nuclear energy is the best energy. And I think that for the future and going forward, if we really want to get the best out of energy and the energy sources available to us, we should go to nuclear. Of course, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but I do think it is our best alternative at the moment. Thank you.
All right. Okay. That was Jack with his claim. Jack, you can take a seat and give a little bit of time to our to the audience. If you could give Jack a counter argument, I'm going to give you about till take about, unless you guys are prepared about it, take about 6 to 7 minutes. Okay. Somebody, you already, unless you guys are, prepared about it, take about 6 to 7 minutes.
And it is cooled by water, which serves as a coolant and a moderator. This is a pretty basic explanation of what nuclear energy is. So, what? Wait, should I stay standing for my when they ask me the questions?
No, you can sit and respond.
Okay.
Probably won't give you all 6 minutes to respond next time because the first one and you're opening and it's a pretty content-rich topic. So I'm giving you some time. Otherwise, it's usually 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes of response time.
Are we supposed to share the counter argument?
Yes, you are. I'm good. As
Okay.
Raya has said that I'm going to call upon one of you.
Oh, okay. I have one ready if that's what I was
Okay.
wondering.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm just going to make some notes and then I'll ask you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's go with Zen. It was Zen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Zen, if you could, I'm going to pin you here, and if you could turn your camera on,
Okay.
and then you don't have to respond absolutely immediately. You get 2 minutes to think about it. Jack. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Zen.
Okay. So I'm just going to restate your claim. You just basically said how nuclear energy is considered the best energy for you, better than solar and wind, because it kind of takes up a more smaller space. I do agree with the fact that nuclear energy does take up a smaller amount of space. But my counterclaim is you mentioned how it takes up also a large percentage. If I remember correctly, it was probably like 90%, something with 90%. Wouldn't that be considered more expensive? And wouldn't that damage also like the finances, like with government? And if it's a bigger percentage, so it would be a larger amount of energy. So wouldn't that be more dangerous with a larger capacity?
I'm ready to answer.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so basically what that means is power capacity, it's like how long it's on. So yeah, nuclear energy has high like cost, but the thing about it is that it's long lasting. See, they last for about 60 to 80 years if nothing goes wrong. And that in comparison to other things is a lot longer than anything else. So although it's a high cost initially, it really pays for itself over time, a lot more than anything else. Because I mean, take example, solar panels, they only last like 20, 25 years at most. And then they don't even have a way to get rid of them. They just like ship them off to Africa or something as like waste. So they're a lot better. And the high capacity, that doesn't mean that it's like a higher energy yield. That basically means that for the lifetime it is. So for those 60, 80 years, it's a 93% is how much energy you're getting. So like in comparison to like the 25% for solar, that kind of means that during its lifetime, it would only ever generate 25% of its like projected energy. So, because like, of course, the sun's not always shining, so it can't always get that energy. That's kind of the gist of what I was saying.
Very interesting. So if I can, because, if I understand, Zen, you said that, you talked about though it's going to give us a much, in terms of quantity, a much more, but we are going to spend more money, we're going to end up spending much more money in terms of resources, right? Zen, and if I understood that correctly, I'm not a, content expert on this one, but then I think to Jack's point, he responded by saying that true, he did agree that we end up spending more resources. Can I say that, Jack? More resources?
It's not, actually, studies show that it's actually not more nuclear power plants to build them. It actually takes the least amount of resources because it's only one plant in comparison to like the solar farms that they build actually require way more material to like build. It requires like 17 times more to build those. And that's just because like they take up massive amounts of land and they just need a lot of them to really get the amount they want. Nuclear power plants are a lot smaller in like the scale and they don't require as much space, which means they don't need to pump as much like resources to build them.
Okay, so then the argument about the 93%, is it valid?
What do you mean?
When she said that the 93% that we are spending more more resources to get that 93%. Is that valid?
I didn't say resources. It was more, he mentioned how like there's 93% of the energy that is used within it. Because you mentioned how it's used, you just answered how like for 16 to 80 years, how it's like a long lasting type of energy. So like it should have a high percentage, correct?
Yeah, it is basically
Yeah,
for 60 to 80 years, it's 93% of the energy generated in those 60 years is like can be used. Like it will always generate 93. Well, on average, it could generate like 93% during those 60 to
Okay.
80 years. That's what I mean.
So then how is that a problem?
I just mentioned how like because he mentioned how it would be a longer percentage. So like he mentioned it would take longer. So I
Mhm.
thought wouldn't that be more expensive and
Yeah, this
wouldn't
is
it
what
be
okay.
more of a dangerous issue since it yes, you can say it is a smaller space, but it's a longer time period. With that smaller space, it keeps like increasing and increasing and increasing. But like you're saying 60 to 80 years, and then the waste you said you could like send it off to like Africa or something. But like
Africa.
yeah,
Oh
like that.
no, the waste, I was talking about solar panels. The waste actually, they have how could I say, they actually have that under control. They store them in like rooms where they keep them. Like in Switzerland, they have or Switzerland or Sweden, one of the two. They have a room that for the 45 years that one of their nuclear reactors has been operational, all of their waste is in one room contained. That's what I meant. They have like an option to how to maintain the waste that's generated.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you this question, Jack, is if there's one counter argument that you will say that is against, or if you one strong rebuttal that you say is against your claim, what would that be? Maybe if you haven't mentioned, maybe if you didn't get a chance to mention against your argument that it is the best power.
My own counter argument against it.
Yeah.
I guess
One of the biggest one for you.
biggest one for me. Let me think about this. I would probably say that probably the biggest problem is the limited, I guess, uranium supply. That because like uranium is not like an extremely abundant resource, and you need enriched uranium to generate the nuclear process. So that could be an issue, is running out of that. But as I said, like it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent solution. It can be a fill in until like better alternative energies found out or figured out.
That will be used to substitute uranium, which is a very rare resource.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very nice. Thank you very much, Jack and Zain, for delving into this topic. I did tell Jack that this is going to be a very content-rich and difficult one because I also was trying to understand before, because I was saying, okay, what is Zain talking? And then I'm just trying to see whether I understood it correctly or not. All right. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you. All right, Zain, are you ready?
Yes.
You're the second speaker. Okay, so I didn't have to move. All right. All right. 1 second. All right.
I actually changed my spot. I hope this is better.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Multiple areas.
Okay.
So I hope this is better than last time.
Yeah. This is good.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, Zain, you can go.
Okay. 1 second. Let me just make sure my camera. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. So violent video games have become a popular genre in the video game industry. While violent video games have become increasingly popular, adults have began to question if violent video games are harmful towards like the mental effect side on children, which can possibly lead to teen violence. Have you guys ever played violent video games? Do you guys have younger siblings? Because personally, I have played a violent video game, and I will mention that during my speech. I feel as though children in this day and age are more like sucked up in the technology world. So the Gen Z, us basically, one of which is video games. They watch a YouTube video that introduces the video game, and then when that video introduces the video game, they're interested in it and they want to play it, and then they can easily obtain a video game that is not appropriate for their age group. As mentioned, the violent video game that I played when I was a child, this is kind of old. It's called Mortal Kombat. Basically, in this game, there's two characters, and in one character, they have in each character they have special skills, like either fire, a sword, and then another character has a special skill as well. And then both of these characters like collide and they fight until one of them is dead. So like they have to fight till one of the characters is killed. At a young age, children are incredibly impressionable and easily persuaded. By allowing a child to play a violent video game can contribute to the development of violent conduct. So let's talk a little bit more about what violent video games there are. How are they super realistic? So there's a debate between violent video games and violence that has become a critical topic because of the aggressive behavior that violent video games have caused, as well as the menacing environment that is illustrated within the violent video games. So violent video games have become more and more realistic recently, especially there's this game that I actually have played. It's called GTA Grand Theft Auto. And it's basically like you're in LA and Los Angeles and there's mafias and you have to do missions. And then those missions, you have to kill people or you steal cars or da-da-da-da-da. And like, all of that is very, very unrealistic. Like we don't go on a daily basis standing in front of the road to go steal a car or something like that. Doesn't work out. So, but a little bit of more evidence based off of that. There's actually an article called Brutal Kill, where it tells you more of a significant when the most successful games are displayed related to violence or unfavorable social messages. So like they have become very popular in this day and age, violent video games. And this proves how like within this evidence that these violent video games always send messages that are unfavorable, and they always get into the mindset of children, especially in children. During the past year through COVID-19 affected children the most by letting them stay at home and like spending more time on technology. So the experiences of a person can have a significant impact on their conduct and personality, especially young children, by causing harm to others without intending to, especially when all of these intrusive thoughts of the violent video games come in. As a child matures, so does their mindset, and everything they encounter as a youngster will be remembered as a core memory. Our personalities are shaped in large part by our basic memories. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to ask you to frame your counter argument for Zen, please. And then you can sit down. You don't have to. While you do that, I'll just be back. Give me a second while you do that. Oh, what they're doing the classes. Right. Are you ready? Do we have any volunteers who's going to counter argue with Zen?
I can argue.
Isam, thank you. All right, Isam, wait, let me add you in the conversation. Yeah, if you could turn on your camera. Yeah, good, go.
Okay, so I also agree with how like children are more easily persuaded and impressionable when they're young to like such violent behavior, but you talk more about how like the kids adapt to the kills and like the violence of the game and like get it as their own behavior. But in a way, is it like kind of teaching them like survival skills and maybe in some ways how to like avoid such dangerous behavior because we know that like this game is known for such like danger. So like we're like trying to avoid what that is showing us too, maybe in a way.
So Zen, you can have your time, but I think what Isam did, she's using strategy number 5, which is she's turning your claim to her advantage and proposing something new. Okay, all right. So you can take your time to respond.
Okay, I think I'm ready because I prepared for this kind of argument. So basically, you mentioned how like if it like teaches children survival skills through these violent video games. I mentioned that these violent video games are, yes, they are realistic in certain manners. Like I said, like GTA, for example, it looks like Los Angeles. The cars look like Los Angeles. The streets look like Los Angeles. But it's very unrealistic to go and stand in front of a car to go and steal someone's car. Like that's how you play in GTA to steal a car. Or you just pop a gun out of like your pockets and you start shooting someone or a bank or something. You know, so like these things are very unrealistic. And I don't believe these would teach life skills or survival skills. There are other ways you can learn survival skills by taking some certain classes, like either martial arts or stuff like that, to like survive in certain manners. But like these violent video games, yes, they may be realistic in certain parts, but they're very, very unrealistic in other parts, which is why they go into like children's mindset very immediately, because they're like, oh, this is so cool, like this never happens on a daily basis, let me try this out. So like it's just that's, I don't believe it's very it's not realistic in that manner, and I don't think it teaches them real life skills.
Do I have to like counter that too? Like
it's up to you if you want to, because but this is, the round is over, but for your interest you can. And I also wanted to ask her a follow-up question out of interest, but this is what you had, and the grading ends here for me. But then out of interest, you can obviously ask her. Yeah. Go ahead, Isam.
Well, I agree with her. It was really hard to counter it, so. I agree with her. Like, it was really hard to counter it, so I tried as hard. So
okay, all right. So Isam, I have a question, and it actually, and I didn't think about this. I'm sorry, it's not Isam, Zen. Is that is what Isam pointed out? Is that and you said that it is very going in that Los Angeles, that whole simulated things, extremely unrealistic. By the same logic, can I say that the violence that they see in video games is also very unrealistic, and it can never really imitate real life, so it's not going to be dangerous? Can I use your same logic to talk to you about that one, or do you think violence has a different connection with children?
You can use that logic, but by like rewording it a little bit, because you mentioned like, oh, like this occurs, but most of the stuff that they have in video games, yes, there are people who get shot, yes, there are people who die, there are banks that get robbed, but not in the way that a video game shows you, because video games are known to exaggerate matters and like they make it more dramatic, so like the gamer is actually very interested and pulled in. It's kind of like a show or a movie, like they're over dramatic, it's very over exaggerated, just so like the person who's watching or playing is pulled into the game and they're attracted to the game. And when you're attracted to a game or a movie or a show or a book or anything, you start to like having, like, for example, like in a book, you read a quote, you're like, oh, I really like this quote, I'm going to use this quote. It's kind of like in that same manner. It's like in video games, or like you see someone like you see like in the video game, like this is like a positive video game, not a violent one. Like, oh, like a school kid has like this backpack. Oh, like I want this backpack. I see it in the store. I want to get this backpack. It's like these
Okay.
types of manners, like, or like some children, like there's actually evidence that I pulled up where I'm pretty sure everybody knows about this, but like in 2012, there was like that Sandy Hooks elementary school shooting.
Yes.
It was like a 20-year-old.
Right.
It was like Adam Lanza.
Adam, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and he shot 26 people. And like I was doing more research on that because I was very interested, and it was shown how like in public figures, it drew attention to the fact that Lanza actually was a constant violent video game player.
Oh,
So
okay.
like it might be a very even if it's a very low possibility, but like that mindset, like anything you watch, anything you read, anything you do in life, it as I mentioned, especially in children, it becomes a core memory. You remember it no matter what. If you like it, you remember. If you don't, sometimes if it's very traumatic, you do remember it. But that's just how it is.
Very nice. Very wonderful refutation. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you. And now we have our next speaker, who is Guillermo. Guillermo, just get organized. I'm just going to make a few notes before I forget, and then give me a second, and then you can start. Give me a. Okay. All right. I am ready for you now. 1 second here. Guillermo, is it possible for you to turn on a light or something in the room?
I have a light on.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think you have this. You look. I can't see your eyes or anything. Can you open the window or open? I mean, take the blinds or something. Yeah. Now I can. So it's yeah. Now it's okay. Totally. Oh no. You know what? You go a little towards the back. Yeah. Yes. There you go. Much better. Okay. And okay. So I will. Give me a second here. I'll just turn on my light. Here we go. All right, Guillermo, start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the birth of the digital age, we relied on newspapers and other forms of print media to catch up on the latest news and keep records of important information around the world. Nowadays, almost every single bit of information from all corners of the world is right inside of our pockets. With the mere touch of a button, the reader can have instant access to information from all corners of the world, from the fires in New Mexico to the war in Ukraine. Even though our society is all about improving the quality of life, I believe that print media is much more reliable than digital media. To go along with the benefits and detriments of both print and digital media, the contents in print media is carefully reviewed in order to be credible. Unlike digital media where information is instantly shared, it may not be reviewed carefully. This method of reviewing the information presented in print media prevents errors or misinformation from potentially confusing people who read it. In a time where most of the information we receive is from the internet, the fact that some of the information uploaded online can lead to people who don't take the time to do their own research being misinformed, especially during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, where the situation was rapidly evolving and health organizations struggled to continuously inform the public what to do to be safe. Another benefit to print media is that most of it is published by reliable and trustworthy sources, whereas information shared online can come from anyone. Although this time where most major media corporations like CNN and local news stations use online platforms to inform the public, they still use print media as another way to do so. There's also the fact that an individual user who posts their information online may include some level of bias along with applying their own opinion on the subject, which could confuse people to think that this information is correct without checking it more in depth. When reading an online article, you tend to get distracted by advertisements littering all over the screen. There's also a chance that you'll be greeted with a sign-in box in order to continue reading the article, which will then gather more information about you and have more advertisements targeting you. Along with that, you are staring at a bright white screen for a long period of time. With paper, you are less likely to get distracted as you read. No flashing ads, no sign-ins. After looking through the benefits of print media, it is understandable that many people choose print over digital. These individuals want their news and information to be as accurate as possible from a trustworthy source. It is also important that in a serious situation such as a pandemic, we are informed with the correct information on what to do and how to stay safe. While we want our news to be as fast as possible, it cannot come at a price of accuracy. Thank you.
All right, that was Guillermo's position. If you would like to formulate your counter argument. Are you ready with a response for Guillermo? Okay, somebody who's going to volunteer?
I can.
Oh, that's
That's
Jack.
me.
Okay, yeah, Jack. Okay, Jack, you can come. Okay, all right. Okay, Jack, go.
So my question or my counter argument, I guess, is so I know I agree with the fact that digital media can be, I guess, misleading or like have like bad news, but I also think that although what you can't get with print is print usually only gives you like one view. I think with digital media you can get a whole bunch of different sources that can kind of give you a whole bunch of different views, and you can kind of use like conglomerate those together to get a better view of what's going on. I think like that's like what I think is better about digital is that you could just get a whole bunch of different sources and take them and then take what you think and then form your own view from them. Unlike print, which is usually only like one view from somewhere.
Okay. Thank you. Guillermo, he's using strategy number 5. He is accepting your claim in the fact that, and he's turning your claim into his advantage and providing another view. Okay. So if you want to take the time to respond.
Okay. I have a response to that.
Okay.
Well, well, I do agree with that. I also think that these different sources from digital media can come from like uncredited like sources, like an individual person trying to like get their opinion out in a subject.
Follow up, Jack.
Oh, okay. So I think that can be true, but I think if you're getting them from different like credible sources, like multiple different, because for that you can get multiple different credible sources, like different websites which have articles that are like written by people who could be described as credible and getting credible research done. So I think that's where you could, counter that.
It's pushing back on you. All right. How do you respond to
that? Well,
can I interject here? So Guillermo, how many people are very savvy? I mean, if you think about the general population, how many people are very, like to Jack's point, I mean, if I have to go and check some news, I'm not going to go and look at, people's Twitter updates. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. If it is that important for me. Now, if the information is not that important for me, then I might just go and look at Twitter updates. Now, if I know I have to do research on that, research and high importance, it becomes very difficult for me to go to the library and look at print media or order something and get, because of exactly the reason that we talked about, that the time is instant. I need it instantly. What I can do is I can go to for example, COD's, I'm sorry. Yeah, it could be COD, it could be Benedictine's library, and then I can look at online versions of the newspaper. Okay, it's not it's still electronic media, but it's the online version. So because I need quick access. how does this industry survive then? Because I to Jack's point, is that, you know, there could be somebody who's going to be, there could be a user who's savvy, who knows exactly, if they want news, they'll probably go to credible sources, probably will not do a wiki search, will probably go to Reuters, will go to some credible sources, and will get the information just like somebody else would, would get the information through print media, but they'll take more time. How does print media survive then?
I think that, like, people who don't really use the internet as much as to like get information, like people who like us still watch the news on TV instead of like looking at a website online.
Okay.
They also probably could use like newspapers and stuff.
Newspaper. So it's that gen. So we're not talking about the millennials. We're talking about, you know, the older generation.
Yeah.
Will probably still go, and that's right. I mean, that's the audience that we are looking at. Do you use print media?
No.
All right. All right. Thank you both of you. All right. Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is Isam. All right. Here we go. Give me a second. How are we doing on time? Wow. Okay. It's already 17 seconds. Okay. Isam is here. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. Okay. Data. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for Isam. I will have to stop interjecting, and because we need to move on. We're actually running a little. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we go. Isam is here, and all right. Oh, come on a second. All right, Isam, you can start.
Is my camera, everything?
Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah.
Okay. There are many platforms in regard to social media, including Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok. This is a major source of communication these days with the outside world, but many become detached from society as a result of this online accessibility. It has a major influence on its users, especially the younger generations, because they're more susceptible to peer pressure, which happens on social media. Social media is not always the truth, as someone can appear to be as whom they're not. And this is harmful because they are incapable of seeing such dangers behind such activity. At such a young age, social media can cause irreversible damage to their mental health. Lisa Coyne from McLean Hospital states that there are cases directly relating social media as cause for mental health disorders such as anxiety, depression, and sometimes even memory loss. When you're young, you're easily influenced as your brains are still growing, and even little inconveniences can have huge impacts on personalities and mindset. Adults have been taught the difference between real and what's not real on social media, but the young minds can't make this distinguishment. Like when we see fake ads for free stuff, immediately we know it's a scam and we know to avoid it. Like children can be tempted by this and they don't understand it. So can they be able to avoid it? In many cases like this, allowing children to have social media has a major influence, and they need to be guarded from these dangers. Although this generalization cannot be made for all platforms, some have accounted for younger audiences, such as YouTube Kids, which allows for kids to access informational videos with safety precautions. Mental health is the well-being of one's emotional and psychological state. It's a touchy subject because many points of influence affect behavior and personalities that develop with age. When you're young, you remember getting upset about the little things like someone yelling at you. Now imagine this feeling magnified as children experience this danger through social media if not properly controlled. many cases where age can be faked and proper social media control is necessary, regardless of educational factors like social awareness issues discussed online. Studies from the Cleveland Clinic have shown that children under the age of 11 who have Snapchat and Instagram are at more risk for adopting problematic digital issues, such as having online friends and becoming dependent on internet for validation. This is a major issue that needs to be brought to attention, as it's clear social media is directly harmful to mental health harm of young kids. Technology and social media have been evolving, and younger generations are gaining access to this online communication platform. The effects of letting young minds on such platforms is directly harmful to their mental health, as many mental health disorders are a cause from this and affect behavior change. Social media needs to be controlled in order to protect the mental health of such younger generations.
Thank you. All right. If you could have a counter argument for Isam. So everybody ready? Okay. You can call upon one of you, or if you want to volunteer.
Can we counter like multiple people, or is it just we have to counter at least one?
At least one.
Mm.
And I think we are just doing one per speaker.
I can go.
Who's this?
Maggie.
Oh, Maggie. Okay. All right. Maggie. Okay. All right. If you could turn your camera on, Maggie.
I was saying that I agree that it heavily affects our mental health, but I don't think social media is all bad, because many people have been able to make careers out of social media, influencers.
Okay, 1 second. Isam, I wasn't able to hear. It was the voice was dragging, but maybe it was just me. Was it you also? Were you able to hear?
I mean, I could hear the end, but it was like dragging too. It was like lagging.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I thought it was me. Okay. So, Maggie, is it possible for you to restate the question? Because I think your internet, and you may want to just a little thing, because you have your speech. I think maybe it's a low bandwidth. It was dragging quite badly. Could not hear. So you may want to have a backup while you're doing your speech. Just wanted to mention that. Quick heads up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now say something.
I said, what?
Yeah, say it now.
I said I agree that it heavily affects our mental health, but I don't think social media is all bad because many people have been able to make careers out of this being influencers. So I don't think it should be taken away from young people completely.
Okay, using
Okay,
strategy number 5, Isam. She does agree with
Okay.
you, using your claim to her advantage and proposing something. All of you are using strategy number. All right. Okay. How do you can take your time to respond to this one.
Okay, so I agree that not all social media should be banned because, as I said, like YouTube Kids, it's also like informational. For them, it's a good platform, but I think it should be controlled rather than completely banned, because there are like social awareness issues that you learn through social media. It's just really scary because you can fake your age and like get mixed up into something that's really dangerous if like it's not controlled. So my claim is that it should be more controlled rather than completely banished.
Okay. How do you respond to Maggie's thing that it is generating a lot of income, income for people who are becoming influencers that they, mute with YouTube? How do you respond to that one, Isam?
So like more specifically, like I guess like even with like all that like attention and social media, a lot of influencers put out videos of saying like, oh, like my mental health is draining, or like they take breaks from social media. So it's not necessarily like it's always good too. Like there are some downsides to it.
Okay.
So we're just trying to protect them from an early on age instead of just completely letting them be absent from it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, both of you, Isam and Margaret. Okay. All right, next speaker is Joanna. All right. All right, Joanna's here. Okay. All right, remove pin. Okay, that's here. All right, Joanna, go.
Okay, so the Electoral College is a group of people that cast votes for the president and vice president as mandated by the Constitution. These individuals are selected by the political parties of each state. The Electoral College was created due to the belief of the founding fathers that smaller states would have unequal voting power. To create equality for large and small states, electoral votes were assigned to each state, depending on the number of senators and representatives each state has. All states have 2 senators, while representative numbers are dependent on the population of each state. The founders also believed that the Electoral College had the advantage of being a group that only met once, which meant that no foreign governments or other groups of power could have such a large influence on them. But this has shown to be a flawed belief, as many of these elected electors have been picked at state party conventions, meaning that they are influenced by large bodies of people.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason people support the Electoral College is because it was created to give equal voting strength to large and small states. Yet it seems that the Electoral College has created a huge disproportion instead, a wide gap. I found this can be easily seen in 2 states, California and Wyoming. Wyoming's population is around 600,000 and they have 3 electoral votes. While California has a population of 40 million and they have 55 electoral votes. Although 55 and 3 seem like a large difference, this isn't true, because for every 200,000 people in Wyoming, they get 1 electoral vote. But for every around 700,000 people in California, they get 1 vote. This is a huge gap. This shows that 1 person's vote in Wyoming is worth more than 1 person's in California. Not only are votes not equal in power because of the system, but it's also preventing people from voting. Many people from strong blue states, which means strong democratic numbers, feel that if their vote doesn't matter if they're from the opposing party, because they know that it's guaranteed that all electoral votes are going to go to the Democratic candidate. And this can be said for red states as well. So how is this system a representation of our whole country if it is preventing people from exercising their rights? Some people might argue that the Electoral College was also created in order to prevent uninformed individuals, people who don't have higher education, from having a large influence in our votes. But how is this a fair view? Everyone has the right to have their voice heard regardless of their background or circumstances. Preventing certain groups of people from voting is not a good reflection of our country's principles. The Electoral College is a flawed system that has aged poorly. It does not only not reflect the votes of our nation and our citizens, but it also does not represent our democracy that we pride ourselves so much in. Many want to respect what the founding fathers have created, but they themselves said that their laws that they implemented would be outgrown by modern society. The Electoral College has caused people to feel powerless in a society that prides itself so much on listening to everyone's voices. This system silences citizens and will continue to do so unless removed.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. That was Joanna for us. Please have your counter argument ready for her. Joanna, you can take a seat. All right. Could we have a response with a counter argument for Joanna, please?
Well, I can
Jack
go.
wants to. Jack. Okay, Jack wants to go. All right, Joanna. All right. All right. Jack, go.
Okay, so my counter argument, well, okay, I disagree with the idea of the electoral college being abolished. The reason I do is because although, yeah, there are some problems with it, I think that there's also the problem of like corruption with voters, like voter fraud and more importantly, like kickbacks of like people paying a large amount of people off to get their votes. And I think that poses that's like one of the problems, which makes only having the popular vote itself not a viable system to have in place.
You need some time to respond.
Oh, I don't know. I can go.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, so I know there's a lot of like, you can like pay people to vote certain ways and stuff, and like that might be an issue if we remove the electoral college, but we also have to see that the electoral college is already a victim of these things, like faithless electors. So it's not mandatory in every state for all electors to vote the candidate that the people in the state have chosen. I think it's only law in like 29 of the states. So all other states, those electors can choose to vote for the opposite of what the people in that state want. So like there's already like they have like the electors aren't actually can choose not to represent what everybody wants. And so there's already like a huge there's already a huge issue with the electors themselves. And also because like I mentioned in my speech, a lot of the electors are chosen because they continuously show up at like convention parties. So these electors are already like heavily influenced by a lot of people, and who says that like so who's not going like who's like you can I'm sorry I'm like messing up my words, but like there's a lot of people who run for like who have campaigns show up at these like convention parties, and they can easily be influencing these electors that can become faithless electors and vote against what their states want.
Follow up? Yeah.
Follow for me? Okay. Well, I can see the problem with that kind of like that problem, but like I do think that just having the popular vote isn't really the best idea, just because corruption is always going to exist. But I think like at least with the electoral college, there's some kind of safeguard. Although sure there could be corruption in there too, I think there's at least some kind of safeguard in it. And I mean, it has shown that it can go either way with who's going. I think with the popular vote, it could be too dangerous with just a domination of one party dominating too much because, of this mass hysteria of paying large and, I guess brainwashing some people to vote one way. That there's like that kind of issue with that kind of stigma with just having the popular vote.
Summarizing thoughts, Joanna, do you want to? Or you want to end here? Because you don't have to. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. Okay.
I wanted to say that so because of our democracy, we believe that everybody has the right to vote, right? And we believe that everyone's voice should be heard. And like so that's why the popular vote, although like there might be issues to it, it's the best representation of our democracy and our principles. And the electoral college has like slowly been like corrupting and like is like driving away from like what we stand as. And even the founding fathers themselves did not like fully support the electoral college, and they knew that one day it just wouldn't, like they knew the things they were creating at the time would not reflect our society at some point. So I do agree that there is issues with just using the popular vote and having the electoral college. But like as we are now, I feel like the best thing we can do is get rid of the electoral college and right now work on the popular vote. But
okay.
I think a good point.
Thank you both of you. All right. All right, that was Paul. That was Joanna for us. Paula is our next speaker. If you could, Paula. All right. Okay, we go. Okay. Let's remove. Okay. Whenever you're ready. Yeah, you can go.
Most of us would never think to dine out during these times, and especially during the pandemic. With the cost of everything rising out of proportion, it would be ludicrous to spend money on something that is not a necessity. But I am here to prove you wrong. Dining out is more economical for individuals or couples than cooking at home. An article titled Eating Out versus Cooking at Home, What's More Affordable by Epicurious states the Fiscal Times did a highly unofficial, unscientific of what it would cost to go to several New York City restaurants and then tallied up the cost of the ingredients for vaguely the same meal from the grocery store. They later state that in nearly every other case, the cost of the restaurant meal was cheaper than the cost of ingredients from the home meal. The restaurant meal had a small difference from the home cooked meal in terms of cost, being only $1 to $2 cheaper. Yet it proves that dining out is more cost saving since the $1 to $2 cheaper would add up in the long run. Additionally, according to an article by ScienceDaily.com, roughly half of all food dollars in the United States are spent outside the home, which suggests that cooking at home may not be feasible for a large chunk of the population. Sometimes it is easier to buy takeout or having a bite to eat at a restaurant rather than taking the time to buy ingredients, wash them, cut them up, wait for the water to boil, babysit the water so it doesn't boil over, etc. In the case that a restaurant meal would cost more, a majority of restaurants serve portions that are 2 to 3 times larger than the US Dietary Guidelines recommended portion size. So in turn, while you are paying more, you are paying for more food than you'd get in a single portion cooked at home. It turns a profit to the restaurant serving bigger portions, and the food that you do not finish can be boxed up and taken home to eat at a later time instead of cooking a whole new meal. Factoring in the wait time at restaurants, the price of gas to drive to the restaurant and back, another option is using a meal kit service, as it is more economical. Services such as Blue Apron and HelloFresh provide you with no leftovers as they portion everything out per serving. The ingredients are delivered fresh to your door and perfectly portioned out based on the serving size you set, meaning there's practically zero waste produced apart from the box and packaging. There are no leftover ingredients that are left to rot until you decide you want to make a meal with them. All in all, it is more economical to eat out instead of cooking at home. You save some money, cut out the time it takes to prepare your meal, and have no ingredients left over. If the drive there is not your style, there are services that bring the restaurant's cooking to you.
Okay, thank you. If you could have some counter arguments for Paula. All right, who wants to go for counter argument? Joanna, could you please provide a counter argument for Paula? Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, so you state that dining out is more economical than making home cooked meals. But
there's also like you have to consider that there's other expenses to get these already like prepared foods. Like getting there is one thing, like you might have to drive there, or like you have to like tip the person who like who serves you the food, or like maybe you order like from Uber Eats or like DoorDash or stuff like that. You also have to like, they always have like these huge amount of fees at the end. So like, is it really more like, are you really saving more money when you have all these other expenses that you now have to cover?
She's Paula, she's questioning or challenging your warrant or your reasoning. Are you really saving that amount of money?
And honestly, you're not really saving that much money because everything has fees, because you have to like pay even if you're getting like, I talk about meal kit services, which is basically they bring you all the portions in your meal and you cook yourself. That also adds up with delivery costs. So like, honestly, no, you're not saving money, but it's more of like, I don't know how to word it. Like,
can I interject here? Do you mean to say that that you're not wasting? You're not wasting whatever you're doing. You're not at least wasting resources. With buying groceries can go bad. You may not have an idea, as you said, that they exactly match what your portion. What HelloFresh and Blue Apron, they look at the portion size. So wastage is lesser if we order, and as opposed to cooking at home. Wastage in terms of, is that what you are talking about, Paula?
Yeah, it's probably more economical and less waste.
Less waste.
Ingredients.
Okay, so less waste is equal to some money saved there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Joanna, any follow-up?
I guess like depending also like where you live, it might actually be like better for you to buy food from other places. Mm-hmm. Like I guess I would say like more expensive cities, maybe like New York or like Chicago, obviously, or like Los Angeles. Like I think because a lot of like those are more walkable cities, so you could probably walk there and that like
very good point, yeah,
and stuff like that. So I think it also depends on your location.
Very good point. Did you all know, this is such a great point actually? I was, when I first heard, no, and this is not for Paula's speech, but I had heard this, that, since I don't know about, I know that in Hong Kong, that it is actually, I was to be very surprised that people eat out or they go to restaurants, for lunch. It's cheaper. I was like very, very surprised to hear this, that it is cheaper than grocery. Eating out is cheaper. And till you mentioned this, John, I did not think about, that's the thing in New York City, you just go down and you have so many options, right? And it's sometimes cheaper to do that than going to those, and real estate out there is a big, and that's why prices are also higher. Grocery stores and prices are, I don't know what it is about grocery stores there that's priced higher, and it's cheaper to. And I've seen that I've heard that about metropolitan big cities, Hong Kong, Shanghai, their people eat there in restaurants, and they say that's cheaper than cooking at home. So that's something. Did you do this research, Paula? Did you find that any data which says that city eating, the restaurants are cheaper?
And not about cities, like any specific cities in general.
Okay. You may want to, because if you're interested in this topic, there are some cities, like I know that they claim that it is cheaper. And I was like very, very perplexed when I heard that. All right. Thank you, both of you. Right. All right. That was Paula for us. And now we will go with Margaret's speech.
Are you ready right now or no?
Yeah, almost. Okay, I'm going to remove some of the pins and then I will be ready for you. All right, Margaret is here. Margaret, yeah, I'm ready now. You can turn on your camera. Okay. Margaret, you know what is happening? The overhead light is shining very, yeah, this is good. This is good. Can you go back a little bit more?
Yeah.
Or do this to your take, do this. Yeah. This is good. Good. All right. And your voice is not lagging right now. But if it does, since it was, I will let you know. Okay.
Okay.
Right now it is not. So, okay. Go ahead. Start.
In the current world we live in order to have a successful job, you need a college degree. And I would want to believe that the leaders of this country would want all of their citizens to be successful, because in turn, we would then have a thriving country. We cannot rely on the top 10% of rich Americans to make this a successful country. But right now, those are the only people that are able to afford a college education. We need to make college a lot more accessible. And I don't understand why leaders wouldn't want to give every citizen and every opportunity they have to be successful. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, the current enrollment rate is 70%. And while I don't think that is high enough on its own, that doesn't mean that every person enrolled is able to afford it, because the average percent of students that are forced to take out loans is at 68%.
Mhm.
And according to the Education Data Initiative, the average time it takes people to pay their loans is 20 years, but some could take up to 45. Putting in an effort to make college more affordable would ultimately bring down the unemployment rate, because with a college degree, you are then offered much more job opportunities. So some may see this as are losing money, but I think it's the opposite, because as I said, with that college degree, you're given a lot more job opportunities. So then we would have more people working, making more money for the country. I also feel the need to point out that this has been able to be done successfully in multiple other countries, such as Germany, France, and Switzerland, where their tuition is all under $3,000 and Germany's is at no cost. And this is also possible for the US. The way Germany has been doing it is they phase out tuition slowly over the years, and they have made many different legislations that prohibits charging tuition in each state. And if the US followed this plan, we'd be able to get the same outcome. Germany also uses something called dual education, where their students are simultaneously instructed and trained in vocational schools. So if we follow the same plan, we get the same outcome of a lower tuition or getting rid of it altogether, while also training students in their desired vocation. A college education should not be something that is extremely hard to achieve, and our country would be much more successful as a whole if we brought the cost of tuition down.
All right. Thank you. All right. That was Margaret for you. If you could please point your respond with the counter argument. Okay, somebody has a counter argument. Let's hear from someone who we did not hear from. Guillermo. Guillermo. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Margaret, by the way, that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to let your microphone is off, but you don't have to turn it on, right? Okay. And yes, Guillermo, if you could provide a counter argument for
Sure.
Margaret.
Well, I agree that college should be more accessible. Wouldn't you say that's already kind of accessible through like financial aid from the government and scholarships offered from schools and other organizations?
Okay, so in other words, Margaret, he's using strategy number 2, which is actually kind of questioning the significance or the relevance of your claim, where he says that anyways, people are getting financial aid, people who qualify, and some people also get scholarships. So why do we want to make this free?
So we do get financial aid. There is some help given with tuition. And while it's a good effort, I guess, it's clearly not enough, because if it's still taking at least 20 years for people to pay off their student loans, and the fact that people have to take out loans in the first place, in my eyes, that means that it's still way too high of a tuition.
Any follow-up, Guillermo? You don't have to.
No, I don't have.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. All right. Our last speaker is Elijah. Elijah? Okay.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 1 second here. All right. Okay. No, yeah, we can hear you. Okay, Elijah, 1 second. Yeah, whenever you're ready, you can go.
All right, so I did my debate speech on college athletes getting paid. I feel as an athlete, I'm on the track and field team here at Benedictine. I feel like athletes should get paid for the time and effort that they do put in, and like the long hours. Sometimes I know most athletes do, like sometimes they have doubles a day, 2 practices a day. Now, I don't think that we should be out here like making millions or anything, like nothing crazy. I feel as like we should be only allowed to make up as like say however much they offer us for a scholarship. I feel like that's how much we should be able to make for our own money, like our own pockets, because we do have to pay for books and cost of living and food, groceries, or something like that. For example, like I know I personally have to like pay a car note and pay for books and stuff like that. So having that type of like that money would be nice to have. I also feel like with that being said, like I feel like we should also be allowed to like get sponsorships, but I feel like we shouldn't be allowed to like come to an agreement or accept that sponsorship offer until like we do go pro or something like that, I feel. But at the same time, I feel like we should be allowed to get those. Even though I know most college athletes, at least at a D1 or a D2 level, do get those scholarships. They get their school paid off or whatever the case may be for them. But a lot of us athletes don't, especially at the D3 level. We don't get athletic scholarships. We're kind of just doing this out of our own time and wanting to be there just for the love of the sport. So I feel like that should change, and we should be able to get paid something for our time and dedication that we do put into our sport. whatever the sport may be. But yeah, that's really all I have for my speech. What I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you. You can take a seat and we'll have a counter argument for you. Okay. All right. Can we have a counter argument for Elijah, please? Somebody who did not get a chance. I think Guillermo went, Zain went, Wissam went, Jack went twice. Paula.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay.
I said, would adding monetary gain increase the amount of athletes like trying harder?
Paula, could you turn on your camera, please, for him to see
Oh,
you?
yes, of course. Do I
Good.
need to restate the question?
Yes, please.
I said, would adding monetary gain increase the amount of athletes to like try harder to earn that monetary, like to earn the money?
Okay, you need some time to respond. Do you want me to? So,
No.
Okay, let me just understand this question a little bit more. And then, so, so Paula, so monetary gain would be, do you want them to find other sources of income? And not rely on, yeah.
Would like allowing college athletes to get paid, would that like increase the amount of, like, would that make them try harder to like get the money?
Okay, so Elijah, what she's asking, if you understand that, if you increase, will that do you think will that be a motivation factor for you to work harder to earn the money? Will that be?
Yeah, I would definitely say yes. I feel like if I knew, like for example, there's a show on Netflix called QB1, Quarterback One, and they're getting paid basically to shoot this Netflix series, and so they're already having sponsorships from like Nike or Adidas, so like they're already motivated to go to the next level, to obviously make that offer a higher offer or to get paid higher when they do get drafted to the league. I feel personally like if I was offered some money to come run track, I definitely would be motivated more to go to practice, because sometimes after, like we're all in college, we have like a bunch of homework to do. After a long day, we say some of us have 2-3 classes a day. After that day, we're tired, we're worn out, then we have to go lift for 2 hours, and then I personally have to go like run 7 miles or something. That just takes a lot out of me, and sometimes I'm just not motivated to go do it. But I feel if I was paid to go do it, I definitely would be a lot more motivated. I would be, I'm not gonna say like I'm sad or depressed about going to do it because I'm not getting paid. Because like I do love running. It's like just something I do to relieve stress or something. But with the money, that definitely is a big factor for a lot of these college athletes, especially some athletes that come from nothing. Like the money is definitely a way out for some people, I would say. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Wonderful. Okay, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with this we finish. We finish our, one second here. Okay. All right. So with this, we finish our debate speech class. Thank you, everybody. We had 8 participants in class and we went back and forth, completed it nicely. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording and I will send you all a link right away. Okay. So just give me some time here. Actually, you guys just did this. So take about a 5-minute break, come back. Okay. In 5 minutes. We have an assignment that we need to do. Take a 5-minute break, come back. And by that time, I'll also have the link for you. Okay.